Morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. As we prepare for the 2021 storm season, I have Shari from the Deaf Action Center, along with many people who represent departments that are really getting ready and taking this time to prepare for this upcoming storm season. So honored to be here with them. Our chairman, Scott Walker, Councilman at Large, Ricky Templet. We have our Director of Emergency Management, Joe Valiente, our Sheriff, Joe Lapinto, our Director of Public Works, Mark Drews, our Director of Drainage, Mitch Terrio, our Chief Administrative Assistant, new to our team, Sarah Babcock. From Entergy, we have Patrick Hamby, our Public Service Commissioner, Mr. Eric Skrmetta. From the Southeast Louisiana Flood Protection Authority West, Mr. Nick Calley. Southeast Louisiana Flood Protection Authority East, Kelly Chandler. We have from Director of our West Bank Fire Services, Chief Brian Adams, and the Chief of the East Bank Consolidated Fire, Dave Tibbetts, along with Belinda Constant, who is our mayor in Gretna. And many of these people will be addressing you shortly. So with that, we're here at our Jefferson Parish Emergency Operations Center in Gretna to stress the importance of preparing for this year's hurricane season. The safety of our citizens is our first priority, and Jefferson Parish is storm ready. We have been in close contact with all of our partner agencies, and we know that last year was an extremely active season, so now is the time to be vigilant. Just the way you need to do it with your families is the way we're doing it with all our departments, getting as prepared as possible so that if a storm comes our way and starts bearing upon us, we can act as ready as and without the stress. If the more preparation we have towards this storm season, the better off we will all be. So it is predicted that the 2021 hurricane season will again be busier than normal, and we know last year was much busier than normal. I was at an event last year, and the speaker said, I think we're just now getting over the post-traumatic stress disorder from last year. So we're going to be prepared. 13 to 20 named storms, 6 out of 10 of them hurricanes, and 3 to 5 reaching major hurricane strength. So if accurate, this could be another record-setting 6th consecutive year with above normal number of tropical events. I want to just go over, and we have our public works system here, but what we always try to do is better ourselves as we move into the future, and we've certainly done that in our drainage system as compared to last year. So we have over 11,000 feet of new drain lines either repaired or newly installed during this off-season. 63 miles of drain lines have been cleaned, 50,000 catch basins cleaned to be ready for this season. We have 114 of 131 electric pumps have now been automated, and this is that next level that we try to get pumps that are automated. Obsolete pump engines have been replaced at Westwego 1 and 2 pump stations. The construction is complete on the new Goose Bayou pump station in Lower Lafitte, and the construction is complete on Sibley Street pump station on West Napoleon Canal. Also complete on Airline Park North pump station, and there's approximately 3,000 linear feet of canal banks that have been reinforced with sheet piling to combat slope failures. And a 1-mile section of the Wagaman Canal has been relocated for future expansion at our landfill. So all of these improvements have been done in preparation for this year. Certainly, although COVID is not as big of a challenge, thank God, as it was for us last year, we want to remind everyone, if you have not received your vaccine, we want to encourage you to do so in preparation for this season. As we know, sometimes you're in tight spaces and tight working groups and cars and all of that. So we want to continue to encourage people who have not yet been vaccinated to get that vaccine. So start preparing now. Start preparing your go kit for your family and your personal life. Think about the water, the food, your important documents that you need to get ready, extra clothes, medications, first aid kits. Make sure your prescriptions are done now. Get those filled ahead of time. Your eyeglass prescriptions, you have enough contact lenses. Make sure your car is properly maintained. Create your evacuation plan with your family, for your pets, ahead of time. Now is the time to do that, and check with your neighbors and elderly relatives to make sure that they have a plan as well. We want everyone to pay attention, if we need to your local officials, including all the departments up here with me. Stay informed. You can text JP Alert to 888-777 to stay informed. Our Spanish-speaking citizens can text JP Noticias to 888-777. And it's a reminder, please make sure it only takes one storm to cause major wind and flood damage. So we want to make sure we all do our best, and that means preparation, and that's the purpose of being here today, is now is the time to get prepared. So with that, I want to introduce a whole host of people up here, but first, Ricky Templet is also here and Councilman Walker, but on behalf of the Jefferson Parish Council, our chairman, Scott Walker.
Thank you, Madam President. Good morning. Thank you all for being here today. There are a lot of people here who will tell you how ready Jefferson Parish is in just a moment, so I'll stay away from that. I will just tell you that from a council standpoint, from Grand Isle to Gretna and everywhere in between, we will be ready. And when a storm threatens, you can reach out to either of your at-large offices, myself or Councilman Templet. We respond to things throughout the entire parish, and of course your district council person is somebody to reach out to as well. We are sort of a go-between during crisis situations. If there's a problem, you can't get in touch with the department, you can't get a response via email or phone because of weather conditions, we're all monitoring emails, we're all monitoring Facebook pages and social media. So reach out to us. We can be the plug-in between you and the problem that you're having and trying to get it resolved. This EOC is amazing. We had a lot of dress rehearsals last year and a couple of real life events. I think we dealt with probably the most power outages that we've seen since Hurricane Katrina in the aftermath of Zeta last year. And it was a significant event here. But this EOC is ready and is always pulling together and collaborating with jurisdictions around the area, different governments, different police agencies, whatever the case may be, they're all here, they're all working together. The council offices, again, are here to help. Make sure that you don't have storm fatigue going into this year. Last year, we saw more in a season than we probably ever have, at least coming towards us. Not all of them affected us, but they were all coming towards us, it seemed, at some point. So don't let your guard down. Be ready. As the parish president said, it only takes one to make it a bad hurricane season. So have a plan, be prepared, and just hope that we don't have to deal with it again. But if we do, you'll be ready and we'll be ready as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And you all know Joe Valiente. He is probably one of the busiest people last year, one of our busiest directors, and he does such good work for us. So our Director of Emergency Management, Joe Valiente.
Thank you, Madam President, and good morning, everyone. So Jefferson Parish has nearly completed their 2021 hurricane preparations. To date, we've completed our public assisted evacuation exercise, which we do every year. We've also trained all of our EOC, Emergency Operation Team members, in the new aspects of the Web EOC, which is an important program that we use to communicate with the state and other local agencies. Also, our A and B team activation exercise was complete, where we actually give them scenarios that they have to work out the solutions to. And that's very important as far as being able to respond to emergencies that occur during a hurricane. We've spoken to our point of contact with the National Weather Service and the National Hurricane Center. Our last component to our preparations will occur on June 2nd, where we'll meet with the Louisiana National Guard to flesh out all the different individuals that are new now, and also to make sure that everyone understands what their assignments will be. It's important to note that Jefferson Parish has 1,100 essential duty employees that stay behind here. So they actually ride out the storm in shelters, and what that allows us to do, that as soon as it's safe for them to go out, they begin assessing the damage that has occurred from the storm. This is important because we take that information and we work with the state and local partners and various municipalities, and this allows us to form a quicker response. So that's important. We're very, very proud of the fact that we have 1,100 people that are on standby. As soon as the storm passes, they can actually hit the street and start making assessments. During a full activation, the EOC mans 120 individuals, and we have a full-service kitchen and a contract that actually takes care of all food. In short, Jefferson Parish is storm ready. I just want to make sure that the public understands that during hurricane season, every hurricane brings a high amount of risk to your area, and with that risk, there are threats. We're talking about wind, storm surge, excessive rainfall, and tornadoes. So complacency is one of the worst things that a community can experience. I believe Councilman Walker talked about fatigue. That's a good word. So we have to stay vigilant. And the number one thing that I would like the public to understand is that when we do have a storm that's threatening our area, I think it's very, very important that they stay informed, situationally aware of what's going on with the storm and what the risk and the actual threats are. And like Madam President alluded to, be prepared so that we give the call to evacuate, you can do so immediately. Please don't hesitate. Don't suffer from fatigue. So it's important that you're compliant when we give that order to evacuate. Thank you very much.
We have a very strong public safety community, and one of our strong partners is our law enforcement with our police. So Sheriff Joseph Lopinto.
Thank you, Madam President. As always, the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office prepared, willing, and ready to answer any call for service. Our equipment's ready, our personnel is ready. We understand that obviously we should have a long hurricane season. Hopefully it doesn't affect us. But I really want to take the opportunity to thank the preparedness, not only the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office, but the Louisiana Sheriff's Association Emergency Task Force. We had a lot of practice last year. Lake Charles, we sent 60 Jefferson Parish deputies in a contingent of over 200 to Lake Charles for over 60 days, helping them through their disaster. I know the men and women of Lake Charles and the men and women around the state that are part of that task force are always ready and willing to assist us if the need happens. We were able to see that directly last year with our preparation over the 60 days in Lake Charles, housing, feeding, and making sure that the citizens of Lake Charles were able to stay safe. And hopefully we don't have to do that again, but the exercise was great for our Louisiana Sheriff's Association task force. It keeps us prepared in order to prepare for no matter where the storm hits, we have the resources to move them forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. One of the things about our parish is we're an incredibly large parish, and what people probably don't even realize is how much infrastructure we have in our drainage system because it's all underground and you don't see it. But it's miles and miles of infrastructure that we have to maintain and improve. And so with that, I want to introduce our Director of Public Works, Mark Drews, and our Director of Drainage, Mitch Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. Public Works is going to be ready for this hurricane season as we've been preparing for several months. We've tested all our facilities and equipment, and everything's in good working order. But most importantly, we have experienced staff who have managed these storms before. They're used to working under adverse conditions. In addition to that, most of our superintendents have been here over 20 years, so the people that are managing these crews have been through events like Katrina, Rita, Gustav, and Ike. With regard to our systems, our water system, we have a treatment plant on the East Bank and the West Bank. Both have safe houses so that during a Category 3, 4, or 5 storm, our staff can move into those safe houses and remotely run the water treatment plants, so we will have water throughout the event. In addition, if we have an extended power outage, they have backup generators on site with a 5-day supply of fuel. Similarly, our sewer system, we have 4 major treatment plants, 1 on the East Bank, 3 on the West Bank. They all also have backup generators on site with a 5-day supply of fuel. We have a streets department and a traffic division that have the equipment and personnel necessary that right after the storm, they can immediately begin closing roads if necessary for safety. They can begin clearing debris from the roadways and start restoring traffic signals. In addition, we also have a parkways department with the equipment and personnel to begin removing fallen trees from our streets right away, and they'll work in coordination with energy in case there are power lines entangled in those fallen trees. However, with respect to these storm events, flooding is always the main concern. So with that, I'm going to let Mitch Terrio, Director of Drainage, speak to the system. Mitch is a professional engineer with 15 years of design experience and over 20 years with the parish, so he's managed numerous events such as storm events throughout his career.
All right, thank you, Al. I think anybody who's lived here for any length of time realizes that there's no off-season for bad weather. 2 weeks ago was a perfect example, and we got about more rain in a 4 or 5 hour period than we see with most tropical events. So we know that our systems have to be ready continuously. So most of what I'm going to tell you that we're doing now is some things that we do continually year-round that we ramp up a little bit with a little more intensity, a little bit more personnel during hurricane season. Right now, the big question, everybody wants to know, how many pumps do you have and how many are out of service? We have 195 pumps in our system. Right now, we have one that is out for relatively long term. We do have temporary pumps in place to make up some of that capacity, but we're at about 99.7% capacity available at this time. So some of the things that we do in advance of hurricane season, we have safe houses at each station. Actually, the safe houses we have 13. At our biggest stations, it's basically a structure that's designed for a Category 5 hurricane and F5 tornado winds. Make sure that there's enough food and water in there for the guys if they have to go. Anything Category 3 or less, they actually stay in the stations themselves. Fuel levels during hurricane season, we keep everything topped off at or near capacity. We can run the stations for about 12 days under normal pumping conditions at that level. On a weekly basis, basically every Monday, we exercise every piece of equipment in our pump stations, in the stations, and also our remote stations. We try to limit the number of pumps that are out of service to no more than one at each station. Always mindful of the forecast. We don't do anything that's going to require a pump be out of service for longer than a few days during hurricane season, certainly not around the peak of hurricane season. So we have, a few projects going on, but again, those are all short-term projects. From the drainage standpoint, our collection system, on a continual basis, but again ramped up during hurricane season, our superintendents are riding the canals on a daily, every other day basis, looking for debris, anything that could cause a failure or a flow obstruction in the canal, slope failures, anything like that. So our guys and gals, like Mark said, have been through this a number of times. We've got, again, guys that have been through many years, good leadership staff. So our vacuum and pressure trucks, we have 9 of those in drainage. Those are continuously maintained through the year, but they are given priority during hurricane season. Those are the trucks that clean the drain lines and catch basins. During a storm event, we actually convert all of our personnel, just about all of our personnel, into catch basin cleaners. So we have the big trucks, and then we also have guys with pickup trucks, garbage bags, and rakes to clean debris off of catch basins. We also at this time, we touch base with all of our vendors and contractors that assist us to make sure a lot of these vendors have people dedicated to us through a storm. So we just double check that our contracts are all in place and ready to go, pump rental contracts, those kinds of things. I will say one thing that we can ask the public for assistance with, and that's number one is cleaning catch basins. If you're able-bodied to clean the catch basin in front of your house, if not, give us a call. We'll get there as soon as we can. Typically we get a lot of calls, a couple days, a day before the storm, and although we've dedicated all of our personnel and we're working extra hours, sometimes it's touch and go that we can get there before the weather deteriorates to a point where our guys have to go back inside. So, okay.
Thank you, Mark and Mitch. Of course, we know storms bring threats, and with that threat, it can be a crisis of human need as well. So we're lucky to have the newest member of our team, Sarah Babcock, with a background in public health as well as emergency management. So I want to introduce Sarah Babcock.
Thank you, and good morning. As today we start to focus on hurricane season, I do want to remind all the residents of Jefferson Parish that we are still in the midst of a pandemic. Many times in hurricanes, whether they're large or small, we may have to be in closer quarters. We can't do things outdoors. We may have to stay with friends or family. You may be an essential worker at your place of business where staff are co-sleeping in areas or packed into EOCs like we will be here. And finally, some people may need assistance evacuating or going to a shelter. These are all scenarios where COVID could easily spread, even if there's just one or two individuals there. We will have procedures in place, both during evacuations and sheltering, for masking, temperature checking, checking for other symptoms, and being able to isolate people if necessary. But it is really critical that we have everyone in our community get the COVID-19 vaccine if you are 12 years of age or older. This will help us maintain low levels of COVID throughout hurricane season and better protect all of our residents. This week, we're offering COVID vaccines at all of our blood drives, which are in playgrounds across the parish. There are also still many healthcare providers across the region who are providing these vaccines. You can find vaccines locations by going to covid.jeffparish.net or by calling 504-518-4020. If you or a loved one lives at home and is homebound for medical or mobility needs, and you need us to come to you to provide you with that vaccine, we have 3 providers, West Jeff EMS, our community health, and Ready Responders that are doing this on a daily basis. To sign up for the homebound vaccination program, please call 504-518-4020. It's also critically important that we take care of our homebound residents during hurricane season. So if you, a loved one, a neighbor, a friend, a member of your church or your neighborhood needs extra help during an evacuation or for sheltering because they are homebound, they may have medical equipment, be on medical devices that require electricity, we want to make sure that we know about those individuals so that we can provide the assistance necessary. You can sign up and complete an application for this service by going to the emergency management website at jeffparish.net or by calling 504-349-5360. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. Certainly after the storm passes, we quickly begin the restoration efforts of trying to put our lives back together, and I want to introduce Entergy, Patrick Hamby from Entergy, as well as our Public Service Commissioner, Eric Skrmetta. But I do want to say this as well, because we've all, and we get phone calls, I know our council offices gets phone calls and all kind of inquiries. I want to thank Entergy for being very upfront and very transparent about when we can expect the electricity to resume. I think that kind of mindset of giving people the option, even if it's days, if it's a matter of hours, that honesty up front can make people make other plans instead of this kind of constantly checking back home. So I appreciate that stance that you take as a company and encourage it, and thank you for doing that, because I think it helps all of us manage post-storm even better.
Thank you very much. Patrick Hamby on behalf of Entergy Louisiana. My head's still spinning from 2020. It had us all speaking Greek, literally, at least the alphabet. Even though the 2020 hurricane season did finally end, it let up, hurricanes that is, 2021 has not let us let our guard down. We've had, so far, historic winter weather. We've had never-ending spring torrential rains that also packed high winds, frequent powerful lightning, and we've even had a tornado that recently hit parts of Jefferson and Orleans. So I say that all to say that we have not rested on our laurels from 2020. We haven't had time to, and I don't think we will this season either. We already have a named storm, Anna. It did not come near land, but we're well into the hurricane season for 2021, and it has not even started yet. As it relates to hurricane season, I'm going to reiterate this. It can't be said enough. It's important, it's necessary, it's mandatory for us to have a plan, Entergy as a company, but it's even more important for you to have a plan for you and your family to keep everyone safe. To help set these expectations, and this is hinting back at what the parish president said, we like to give some historical reference points based off of the plethora of storms we've dealt with for over 15 years. You have Katrina, Rita, Gustav, Ike, Isaac, and then just last year, we had Laura and Delta and then Zeta over here on our home front. So based off of all that experience, what you can expect, and this is for a 90% restoration time frame, we expect to have, for a Category 1 hurricane, 90% of customers restored within 7 days. For Category 2, that goes to 10 days, and 14 days for 90% of customers to be restored for a Category 3. and it goes up to 21 days for a Category 4 and well over 21 days for a catastrophic Category 5, which we all hope never comes our way. But nonetheless, you must be prepared and make plans for you and your family. In those restoration period timeframes, it's important to note there's going to be some customers that have damages to their home, their electrical facilities, that won't even be able to take power until they hire an electrician and make sure they get safety permits and everything else in place before they're able to take power. So I share that with you as the worst case scenario. So you go into hurricane season, eyes wide open, and you take all that information, put it into your family's plans. Everyone has unique needs. You have medical situations at the house that you may need to consider. So consider backup generation, consider evacuation plans, both of those in place depending on the severity and the path of the storm. You never know which option you may have to consider. So you please visit our Entergy Storm Center at entergy.com. It has more information on our restoration process, generator safety tips, and other essential information to help you with your plan for this hurricane season. At Entergy, we remain prepared to take care of all of our customers' needs, and we're planning for the worst, but hoping for the best for everyone. Thank you very much, and stay safe and prepared, everyone.
My district as Public Service Commissioner extends through 11 parishes of southeast Louisiana, including Jefferson Parish. And it's important to know that the Public Service Commission requires all utilities and co-ops throughout the region to be prepared and have a plan for restoration. Patrick has gone through some of the elements that are required for doing that. We have included in that what is effectively a task force for restoration. These companies are all prepared with personnel in place, as well as extended personnel through what is called mutual aid, much like the sheriff was discussing through the Sheriff's Association's task force, where we can draw personnel from other parts of the country to bring them in for the restoration. This is a major element in the rapidity of restoration that we can bring into play for the state. We take this task force, and our element of what we seek to do is to go in and quickly attack the issue to get the restoration done as quickly as possible. We are also now tasked through the legislature to develop plans for restoration for broadband and cable. We do not have jurisdiction over these bodies, but the legislature in the aftermath of Hurricane Delta tasked us with having these companies develop their restoration plans through us. And we believe that is a good thing because we have demonstrated through the work at the Public Service Commission and the aggression that we take on making sure the restoration plans are in place that we have gotten significant time shed from restoration over the past few years. And so while we're never continually perfectly happy with the response, we are somewhat, we're metered on the fact that we think that they are improving greatly as time goes on. We also recommend throughout the district that gasoline filling stations have backup generators. This is a recommendation, it is not a mandate. But one of the things that folks do is they have generators at their homes, and that if we do get a stalled storm, there is always an issue of people finding fuel. We do recommend that gasoline filling stations, if they have backup generations, will be able to stay in commerce and they will be able to help their community. We have taken the opportunity with the media here to recommend that they disseminate this information to the North Shore as well, because as we talk about the co-ops, we have Demco in this district, we have the Washington St. Tammany Co-op, and we have also the other utility, CLECO, in this district. All of these facilities are prepared. All of them have a battle plan. All of them work within our task force, and all of them are ready to attack this issue. But number one thing you can do is be prepared, listen to your local officials, and be resilient, and we will go from there, but we will certainly get the restoration done as quickly as possible through all the utility systems. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Skrmetta. So what I like to think of our perimeter defense system that protects our community along the perimeter is different from our drainage department, which is more internal and subsurface. So I want to introduce, and these teams are really dealing with major assets and then really kick in as the storm comes. So Southeast Louisiana Flood Protection Authority West, Mr. Nick Calley, and Southeast Louisiana Flood Protection Authority East, Ms. Kelly Chandler.
Kelly Chandler, I'm Regional Director of the Flood Authority East. We operate and maintain over 190 miles of levees, flood walls, floodgates, and pump stations. Somebody asked the other day when we start preparing for the next hurricane season, and my answer was the day after the last one ended. We have recently completed our annual inspections, and the system is designed and operating as designed and is ready. We have exercised all of our floodgates and our pump stations. We've conducted tabletop training exercises to prepare for the storm, and we have recently updated our emergency manual plan. I want to reiterate that everyone needs to have a plan, know where you're going to evacuate, listen to local officials. If you need further information, you can check out our website at www.floodauthority.org, and I want to reiterate that the system is ready. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Nick Calley. I'm the Director of the Flood Protection Authority West. We're responsible for Orleans and Jefferson Parish on the West Bank. I'm pleased to report that all of the flood protection features on the West Bank have been inspected, exercised, and are 100% operational. We've completed all the pre-hurricane season inspections, the exercises, and we're ready. And the system we have in place in the West Bank is the best that the West Bank has ever had, and the West Authority is staffed with trained and experienced personnel who are prepared to do whatever is necessary to protect the citizens and property on the West Bank. Let's see. We're going to continue our close coordination with our partners at the City of New Orleans, Jefferson Parish, CPRA, and the Corps of Engineers, among others. And so I encourage everybody to have a plan, have flood insurance, listen to your elected officials, and be safe this season. Thank you.
Again, we're very proud in Jefferson Parish to have such strong public safety teams. Of course, we have our own Fire Services Director of our West Bank Fire Services, Brian Adams, and Chief of our East Bank Consolidated Fire, Chief Dave Tibbetts. We think of them as fighting fires, but when it comes to storms, and frankly, many of the crises of the past year, they respond to much more than fire. So with that, Chief.
Good morning to everyone. Again, you've heard a lot from everybody up here to have a plan to be prepared. Our fire department on the East Bank is ready. We've gone through our practices. We have the ability to call back our workforce and double it if need be to give us that force multiplier. But what I would like to talk to a little bit about, touching on as we do in most of these seasons, is generator usage. A lot, it's been mentioned a little bit. People have generators, either fixed generators in their home or portable generators. We always recommend you use those generators to the manufacturer's recommendations. It needs to be, if it's an installation, it needs to be installed by a professional. If it's portable, it needs to be operated at a minimum of 5 feet away from any opening in your home. And that's not just windows and doors. It's eaves, it's vent pipes, it's anything where carbon monoxide can enter your home. It's a silent and deadly killer. So at the same time, besides I ask you to be very careful with that, I ask you to check, it's another time in our lives to check your smoke detectors, carbon monoxide, as part of your plan to prepare for the storms. Thank you.
I want to thank you all for being here. As you can see, these departments are prepared for this season. Not only is this our job, but this is the community that we live in. This is where we raise our families. It's beloved to us. So we want to encourage everyone to be safe and do what we're doing with our departments. Make your plan now. So with that, does anybody have any questions? No? Okay. All right. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you.